Structures are, in many ways, the core of survival Minecraft. I don't believe they're the core in the same sense as, tools are obviously, the centerpiece, but they are the high points of Minecraft. When you find a village and you decide to, turn your entire plan into working with those villagers, when you find a desert temple and you suddenly stop for a good little bit to clear that out, or even, when you are hunting for nether fortresses or for end cities, structures are the high points in Minecraft. One of the major and notable exceptions to this is dungeons. When you find a dungeon in Minecraft, it doesn't take you that long to explore. Even if you have low-level gear, if it's a zombie dungeon, which are the most common, it should be fairly easy to just weed them out and claim your loot and move on with the rest of your life. And in that video, I'm going to be looking to fix that. I'm going to look to expand dungeons in a way that will make them interesting for people who have played Minecraft a good deal, and at the same time, still maintain the simplicity of the box that spawns enemies. So, let's get into it. Shoutouts to my patrons, Dan the Chris and Just Temmie, and in advance I apologize for my sick, congested voice. Alright, so what you are looking at here is my concept for a new dungeon in Minecraft. Obviously there's a bit more going on here that needs to be explained, but this is the base concept, that it would be 9 rooms, with all of the doors making sure that they lead in a a circle or, a square around the outside. And then some doors will open up to the middle, and this will be your treasure room. So, the idea is that these outside rooms would generate from a number of random different options, as would the treasure rooms. So we'll go over those, and then we'll look at our fully fledged example dungeons here. So, as our first 3 rooms, obviously we need our zombie spawner, our skeleton spawner, and our spider spawner. There are other variants of these that I will show later on down the line, but these would be the basic concepts to appear as any of the borders there, of just, yep, there's a spawner in there. You could also have rooms like this that don't offer a direct challenge, but maybe you're running from the monsters in one room and you have to fight your way through the cobwebs in here. Similar situation, maybe you're running from something and you fall into the lava, maybe a creeper blows up and breaks that open, and now you've got to deal with flowing lava. There's a number of different things that could happen there. Again, and don't ask me what my fascination is with bells. I use them in a couple other of these rooms, but the magma blocks just provide a location where you can accidentally get hurt if you're just running around too carelessly. This one is one of 2 that would have to appear on the outside walls here. And what we have is a pretty simple dart trap. This one has a grindstone and a stone cutter in here. And we've got arrows. This one has a chipped anvil, which is a pretty good reward, but you do have to get through both of these with monsters probably chasing you around. So there's a bit of added difficulty to it, but it's also just a good reward room. Something that you've likely noticed by this point is that the door frames are made of various different polished materials. I do like the look of polished andesite the most, but I feel like all 3 of these blocks, the polished granite and polished diorite, are all very underutilized, and it would be a cool variant, as we'll kind of see here. Just to add some more colors to the dungeons and make them a bit more unique. For these 3 rooms, we have elite monsters that will spawn in a cage. So we've got a wither skeleton cage. Next up, we've got an evoker cage. And then lastly, we have a a cave spider cage. So the biggest thing with these, two things I guess, is one, you could make a bunch of others of these. You could do zombie pigmen if you wanted to, or I don't know, other pillager type enemies, any rare enemy basically you can make a cage for. That being said, the obvious issue with these is trying to keep the monsters spawned. These ones have name tags. I don't think we'd have any monsters generating with name tags. And more likely than not, when you found the dungeon, you'd have loaded and unloaded those chunks, and the actual creature inside will be despawned. But it's still a cool concept, and I wanted to share it. For these next three, we have difficult spawner rooms. So this is a zombie spawner room where instead of one, you got the two. This is a skeleton room, and the spawner is hidden inside of these bars. But the other side of it is that on this level, it's completely open. So if a skeleton spawns here, it could just shoot at you right there, which would be pretty annoying, I'd imagine. And finally, the skeleton spider room, they spawn at the top of the room. This would, of course, be covered with stone, as per a normal dungeon. They'd spawn up there and drop down, and you'd have to deal with, once again, the webs. Trying to make your way through here, unless you broke them beforehand, so... these last three rooms are a bit of a throwaway. We've got a lone chest, a lone crafting table, and a lone lantern. And the idea would be that these would be rarer, and you'd have about a 50% chance of one of these spawning per dungeon, just as a little breather. A little bit of respite. And of course, I forgot to mention, all of the hard spawner rooms, as I'm sure you noticed, do have treasure chests of their own. So there is more difficulty, but there's also more reward. Speaking of rewards, let's look at our treasure rooms. So these are in no particular order, but we are starting out with a very simplistic 4 chests around a pillar type of room. Again, this would just be super simple, super easy. This room, I honestly would probably prefer to get. Books are pretty valuable, especially earlier on, and so you've got a good deal of bookcases with 3 chests, so you are losing one, but you are trading that out for the books, and I think that is fair trade. This is the spider spawner room, but instead of the 1 chest, it would be in the middle of the dungeon, and it would have all 4. There is a skeleton and zombie one later on, although they are slightly different, so we'll just have to get to those and see what's going on with them. This is a safe treasure room. It's got the lantern, you've also got a blast furnace and a crafting table, but for all of that, you only get the 1 chest, and it might not be as safe as it looks. So this one is a little bit of a dud. Treasure room, but there is still some treasure in there. Again, I don't know why I like the bells so much, but they just make for a good accessory on this taller pillar with bells, 4 chests. Again, it's a very simple design, but I still think it's different enough. And I think that's the biggest thing, is you could expand upon this list with a ton of different variants. Above and beyond what I've created already, so yeah. Next up we have some more magma blocks. These ones are around the chest, so obviously you can just stand at a distance and reach in, but then if you're doing this and something, bops ya, suddenly you're standing on magma and you're in a chest, and that would probably be pretty frustrating to deal with, but I guess that's the idea, so... This is our hard zombie room, and what you'll notice is, of course, the spawners are on top of the chest, and as most people will know, you cannot open the chest with a spawner on top. So the idea would be that you'd have to either break the spawners or break the chests and just collect everything in order to get through here, which is a bit of an interesting challenge, but I don't think it's too hard. Zombies are pretty easy to deal with, even in mass like that. Lastly, for the skeleton room, this one's actually pretty easy. It's just a spawner on top of a small pillar. You got 4 chests, there's no additional challenge, but again, if you're combining this with rooms on the outside and there could be other stuff shooting in, I think it creates enough of a challenge. So, and when we're talking about that combined force, let's go ahead and look at these example dungeons that I've rigged up. So these are 3 fully fledged dungeons utilizing the presets that I've already shown off, just to demonstrate what they could look like. So we've got one here, we've got the Wither Skeleton room, we've got, I believe, a zombie spawner there. And again, this is kind of the idea, so, you know, if you're trying to explore all of it, you got the zombies in here, you try to run away into here, and then you're slowed down. Maybe you eventually get through there, but if you run through here too quick, you're getting hit by the arrows. There's just, I think it plays into itself really well. We've got a spider or a skeleton spawner and a difficult skeleton spawner, and of course the actual treasure chamber here. There's not a ton that's too interesting to say on this one, but I think there's enough that you can kind of piece together the roadmaps of what would be interesting. So, this one is a much more spider-themed dungeon, and this one has a lot more spawners, which I think would be important. I think you'd want some to be somewhat spawner light, and some that are spawner heavy. So we have the difficult spiders as the centerpiece. On the outside here, we've got lava, magma, dangerous stuff if you're not careful. We have another difficult spider right there. I believe this is, yep, still spiders, but a normal spawner. Difficult zombie, and then I think this is zombie and skeleton. Okay, so everything is represented in here. We've got several difficult themes, but what those difficult themes mean is that you are getting 6 total chests from this one dungeon. Above and beyond that, if you're trying to make some sort of farm, you got a lot of spawners in one place. That would definitely be helpful, but you do still have to carefully light everything up, dodge the lava, you know, get everything cleaned up nice for that, which I think would be interesting. And of course, for our final example here, we have the Granite Dungeon, which is, I believe, very spawner light. It looks like we just have 2 in here. We have the weakest link room in here with just the 1 chest, so you're really not getting a lot out of this dungeon, but also it's going to be a lot less challenging. We do have 2 of the dart trap rooms used, as well as a cage. I believe this is an evoker. Yes, okay. The other thing with the cages, too, that I didn't mention is, again, with the creeper thing, you could have a creeper blow up these outside bars, and suddenly you have a loose evoker, which would not be good if you're already fighting other stuff off, for obvious reasons. We do have 1, I guess, pity chest there, you know, and overall, though, this is a pretty tame dungeon, but you do have some interesting optional things. We've got a cave spider here, so there's some interesting optional challenges, even if it's not the most difficult or the most fruitful dungeon. So again, the bonuses of this design really is you could make a lot more of these, and you could have nearly endless dungeons, and that is a really cool idea. One thing in particular that I'd like to see is I'd like to see a spike block added, something that doesn't emit light but does hurt you. Because a lot of the stuff we have in game already, stuff like soul sand, stuff like the magma, can work for this, but I just feel it doesn't work as well as something new would. And of course, people can still just climb on top and mine right into the treasure room, but keep in mind with how this design works, you know, let's say they dig right into this one. Well, now you're in the middle of the, you know, spider webs, and there's spiders coming in on you, and, you know, you've got the spotter outside sending more spiders in. Or this one where, you know, it's safe, but you do have these spawners on either side, the skeleton spawner there, and I believe this is a zombie spawner. Again, kind of just sending stuff in and really messing with you there when you're just in the middle. So I feel like digging straight in is still a non-issue. It's a way to approach it, and it may be easier in some cases, but it's not always going to be easier. It would be a lot easier in this one, but Also, part of that is just that this one is, in and of itself, a lot easier, so I think it balances out pretty well. At any rate, I also think that I'm more or less just mumbling my way through this video at this point. I've shown off the concept, I've shown off my designs here. Let me know what you guys think, and anything that you might change to this. I think this would be a very nice balance of, you know, the bite-sized little treasure and monsters challenge of a dungeon, but it's a nice balance of that while still adding fresh challenges to it, just a bit more content to the concept there. So yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you think. I very much hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Please like and subscribe if you have not done those things already. And yeah, toodles!